The man suddenly realizes that the little puppy may not live through the night because he's too clumsy to get milk. The grandmother took him into her arms and cared for him herself. Soon the dog grew up, but he was still too clumsy and weak to get any food. And because of this, the other 3 dogs were adopted. But he was left behind. Grandma took one look at this stupid dog and decided to keep it for herself. But a few days later, a big black dog came to the door, and his mom fought to protect him. Grandma and Grandpa, who were planting vegetables in the field, heard a wail and rushed over to check on him. But it was too late, and he lost his favorite dog mom. Luckily, his grandparents took care of him, and they loved him very much, taking him with them wherever they went. When Grandma was gardening, he would catch bugs, and when Grandpa was hoeing, he would go to the river to catch frogs. And in the evening, he would follow Grandpa home. When he grew up, he would rush in front of his grandparents to make way for them, and sometimes he would help them with the farm work. Of course, he was the only one who was on time for dinner. His grandparents were poor, but he never went hungry because they always saved money to buy him his favorite sausage. Their life was simple and full of happiness. But one night his grandma left the world and he sat in the yard, looking at all the people near the net, realizing that his grandma was no longer with him. At that moment, Grandpa came to him and stroked him gently and told him a lot of things about Grandma. The next day, the grandfather's son did not worry about him alone in the countryside, ready to send him to the nursing home. Grandpa still couldn't let go of the dog, so he went to the dog's side and bent down to gently caress it to say goodbye. At that moment, a tear fell on his nose and the dog looked at him and licked the tear and comforted him. As he watched Grandpa get into the car and the car started, he realized it was a goodbye, so he barked at Grandpa to try to keep him, but there was no response from Grandpa. Now he panicked and yelled back and forth frantically, calling out to Grandpa how he wanted to open his mouth and say, "Grandpa, don't go," but he couldn't. He desperately wanted to break the chain that was holding him. Grandpa looked at the dog heartbroken and told his son to take care of him when he came back. At this point, the dog forced the pain to break free from the restraints and jumped out of the fence with both legs strong and ran in the direction of Grandpa. He accelerated the pace of his feet to catch up with his grandfather, as if he was going to spend his whole life trying to catch up. But a sudden downpour of rain wiped out the last trace of his owner's scent in the air, and he couldn't find him anymore. The dog went back to the house, but he didn't realize that the house had been sold by Grandpa's son. He immediately rushed to stop the workers to protect his last memories. But how could his small body stand up to the shovel-wielding workers?